Raphael never sat with his back to a window again. People thought it was just a strange habit. Some joked that he did not like anyone seeing his screen from behind. Others said living alone in another country could make a person nervous after a while. Raphael never corrected them. It was not a habit. It was a survival rule he had learned in a basement room in Canada. He knew that when someone sits at a desk late at night, headphones on, eyes fixed on a glowing screen, with a dark window behind them, they may not be alone. Some things do not stand behind you. Some things hang above you. It happened during Raphael's first winter in Canada. He had come from the Philippines to study, with no relatives nearby, no close friends, and very little money. To save on rent, he took a half-basement room near campus. It was narrow, damp, and low-ceilinged, with a window set close to the ground. Outside the window was a concrete window. Well, during the day, it held dead leaves, dirty water, and a few rusted metal bars. At night, it looked like a covered well, filled all the way to the top with darkness. The landlord had left an old desk in the room. It sat beside the window. Raphael did not like that spot. The glass was too close. The space behind the chair was too open. Whenever he sat there, he had the uncomfortable feeling that someone outside could look straight at the back of his neck. But the room was too small to rearrange. His bed, clothes rack, and suitcases already took up most of the floor. So he put his laptop, desk lamp, textbooks, and headphones on the old desk and tried to ignore the feeling. Every night, he worked there. He wrote papers, watched online lectures, and sometimes kept a Discord study group open on the side of his screen. When the screen was bright, the window reflected his face. When the screen went dark, the glass showed only the black space behind him. The first touch came 6 days after he moved in. Raphael was working on a paper that night. White noise played through his headphones. His document was open in the center of the screen, and Discord messages kept appearing in the corner. At 1:17 a.m., the back of his neck went cold. It was light, so light it felt almost like a damp strand of hair had brushed his skin. He reached back and touched the spot. There was nothing there. His hair was short. His collar did not reach that high. There was no draft in the room, and the window was shut tight. He turned around and looked behind him. The bed, the laundry basket, the suitcase in the corner, and the black window were all exactly where they should have been. Nothing was there. Raphael blamed it on exhaustion. 5 minutes later, it happened again. A touch, a pause, then another touch. This time it was clearer, not hair, more like a toe, cold, delicate, and just heavy enough to be real, dragging downward over the softest part of his neck. Raphael took off his headphones. The room was so quiet he could hear the fan inside his laptop. He did not finish the paper that night. He moved the laptop to his bed and sat with his back against the wall until morning. The strange part was that once he left the desk, the touching stopped. Over the next few nights, Raphael tested it. Sitting there during the day was fine. Sitting there with all the lights on was fine. Sitting there at night without opening the laptop was also fine. But after midnight, if the screen was on and he kept his head lowered toward the desk for more than 10 minutes, the cold touch returned. It was never hurried. It did not feel like an attack. It felt as if something was checking whether he was still there, checking whether he had moved, checking whether his head was still bowed in exactly the right place. Raphael tried recording himself. The first time his webcam caught nothing. The second time, the video showed only him sitting at the desk, suddenly flinching at the neck, as if someone had tapped him from above. The third time, he propped his phone on top of the wardrobe, angled it toward the desk and the window, then sat down and pretended to work while watching the live view on his laptop screen. At 1:26 a.m., the image flickered. Raphael did not feel anything, but the phone recorded it. In the video, the window behind him was black. The desk lamp was on. Raphael sat in the chair, typing, just above his head, near the top edge of the frame. White shape appeared for less than a second. It was blurry, like a compression glitch. It also looked like the bottom of a foot. Raphael rewound the video again and again. The pale shape was there every time. In the same single frame, he took a screenshot and posted it in the Discord group. A few minutes later, someone replied with a laughing emoji and said it was motion blur. Another student said it was probably the camera adjusting exposure. Raphael did not argue. He opened the screenshot, enlarged it, and raised the brightness. Along the edge of the pale shape were 5 faint bumps, like toes. After that, he stopped sitting at the desk for more than 10 minutes at a time. But a person cannot avoid their own room forever. His classes, papers, exams, and job applications were all on the laptop. He grew tired, then irritated, then watchful. Some nights he woke up and found the laptop open, its screen glowing from the desk. He was sure he had closed it before bed. The camera app would be open, showing a live preview of the empty room, desk, chair, window. Nothing else, except the chair had been pulled back slightly, as if someone had just been sitting there. One night, a new folder appeared on his desktop. Don't sit there. Raphael had not made it. The folder was empty. He deleted it. The next night it came back. This time there was an image file inside. It had no preview, only a long string of broken characters for a name. When he opened it, the picture was almost completely black. There was only a small white shape in the lower right corner. Raphael raised the brightness until the image began to separate from the dark. It was a foot. It hung in the black, toes pointed downward. Everything above the ankle disappeared into the top of the frame, as if the camera had failed to capture the rest of the body, or as if there had never been a body at all. Raphael sat on his bed and stared at the picture until the laptop went to sleep. When the screen turned black, he saw his own reflection. Above that reflection, something swayed. He looked up. The ceiling was empty. The next day, Raphael went to the landlord. The man listened with a calmness that made Raphael feel worse. He said basement rooms were damp. Electronics acted strangely in damp rooms. Students under pressure often imagined things late at night. Raphael asked if other students had lived there before. The landlord said many had. Raphael asked if anyone had ever died in the room. The landlord looked at him for a moment and said that if there had been anything legally required to disclose, he would have disclosed it. It sounded like an answer. It also sounded like a way not to answer. That night, Raphael did not sleep in the basement. He stayed in the campus library until after midnight, then dozed beside a vending machine before going back in the morning. When he returned, the laptop was open again. Discord was on the screen. At 3:42 a.m., his account had posted a photograph to the study group. In the photograph, Raphael was sitting at the desk with his head lowered, back to the camera. But Raphael had not been in the room that night. Someone in the group had replied, "Dude, why are you smiling like that?" Raphael opened the image. The person in the chair was wearing his hoodie. The shoulders were stiff. The head was lowered too far. The mouth was curved slightly upward. It looked like him. It was smiling. There were no feet in the picture, no shadow above him, nothing unusual at all, except for the fact that Raphael appeared to be sitting alone at his desk, smiling at empty air. He downloaded the photo and raised the shadows. Nothing appeared above the chair. But in the reflection on the window, a line of text slowly emerged. "Don't look up." From that moment on, Raphael was afraid in a different way. He was no longer sure whether the frightening thing was the pair of feet, or what happened when he could not see them. He bought a cheap indoor security camera and placed it on a shelf facing the desk. It had night vision and saved motion-triggered clips to the cloud. The first night, it recorded 6 clips. The first 5 were just Raphael moving around the room. The 6th began at 1:17, and the room was empty. The chair in front of the desk slowly slid backward. No one touched it. Once it stopped, the laptop screen turned on by itself. The camera adjusted focus. The image flickered. Then the feet appeared above the desk. This time they were clear, grey, white feet, thin ankles, toes pointing down. They hung from somewhere above the frame, gently swaying in the air, as if a body had been suspended there for a very long time. Directly beneath them was the chair. If someone sat down, the toes would touch the back of their neck. The clip lasted 12 seconds. In the final second, the chair slid back under the desk by itself. Like it was waiting, Raphael sent the clip to the Discord group. This time, no one laughed. A few minutes later, one friend messaged him privately and said there were no feet in the video he had posted. Raphael opened the public version again. The friend was right. In the uploaded clip, the chair moved, the laptop turned on, and the chair pushed itself back in. There were no feet. The cloud backup had changed too. Only the local file on Raphael's laptop still showed them. That was when he understood something. The thing could be recorded, but it could choose who was allowed to see it. That same night, Raphael searched the desk. He checked the drawers, the underside, the wall behind it, and the window frame. At last, under the desktop, his fingers found a loose wooden panel. Behind it was a yellowed plastic folder. Inside were a student ID, a few pages of writing, and an old photograph. The student ID belonged to a woman named Yoon Ju. She was 21, a Korean international student. She had lived in the same basement room. She had used the same desk. The notes were not a diary. They were fragments, written by someone who had not slept for a long time. Someone is outside the window. He has a key. I cannot sleep if I disappear. Do not let the next person sit at the desk. The last page had only one sentence. It is not touching me, it is measuring me. Raphael read that line several times before he understood why his skin had gone cold. Measuring what height, position, or how long it would take before someone could be replaced. He had no answer, and by then he no longer wanted one. He shoved the folder into his backpack and began packing. He could not stay in that room. Sleeping in a hallway would be better than sitting under that thing again. Then the laptop screen turned on. The folder was back on the desktop. Don't sit there. This time, there was a new video inside. Last night, Raphael did not click it. The video began playing by itself. It was the security camera view of his room. The timestamp read 3:42 a.m., the same hour he had been away. The chair pulled back. Someone entered the frame and sat at the desk. The figure wore Raphael's hoodie. The body shape was his. The head lowered just as his did. But Raphael knew it was not him. The person in the chair lifted one hand and touched the back of his neck. Then he smiled. Above the desk, the feet slowly descended. This time, the toes did not merely brush the neck. They pressed against it, little by little. The person in Raphael's hoodie did not move away. He stayed in the chair, smiling more and more quietly. In the final second, the figure lifted its head and looked at the reflection in the window. In that reflection, Raphael saw a face. It was not his face. It was not Yoon Ju's face. Hair covered most of it. Only one eye was visible. The eye was looking at the camera. Then the video ended. The room returned to the sound of the laptop fan. Raphael did not finish packing. He took his backpack and left. He did not sleep there again. The landlord called many times. Raphael did not answer. A few days later, he returned with 2 campus security officers to collect the rest of his things. The room looked normal. The desk still sat beside the window. The chair was pushed in neatly. The laptop was off. There were no footprints, no blood, no sign that anything had happened. Only a small wet mark remained on the desktop, as if something had dripped there. Raphael did not touch the desk. He took his clothes, documents, and hard drive. Before leaving, he looked once at the window. There was nothing on the glass. As he turned away, the security camera on the shelf sent a notification to his phone. Motion detected. Raphael stopped. On his screen was a new still image from the camera. The room was empty. The 2 security officers stood near the door. Raphael stood beside the desk with his back to the camera, and above his head hung a pair of feet. This time, they were wearing his socks. After Raphael left that basement, he never opened the camera app again. He changed his laptop, changed his phone, and moved to a new place. The new room was bright and dry. The desk was against a wall. There was no window behind him. For a while, he believed it would fade. But some things do not follow houses. Some things follow positions. Months later, Raphael was studying in the campus library. The room was full of people. The lights were bright. Rows of desks stretched in every direction. Nothing could possibly be hanging above him there. He had chosen a seat against the wall. No window behind him. At a little after 10, the library was about to close. Raphael shut his laptop. The screen went black, reflecting his face and the empty wall behind him. Just as he began to relax, a notification appeared in the corner of the screen. It came from the old Discord group, from his own account. One image. The photograph showed Raphael sitting in the library, exactly where he was, shot from directly above, as if someone had leaned down from the ceiling to take it. Under the image was one line, "You sat down again." Raphael slowly raised a hand to the back of his neck. It was cold. After that, he stopped studying at night. Some people said he dropped out. Others said he moved to another city. No one knew for sure. The Discord group eventually went quiet too, though every now and then new images appeared there on their own. Empty desks, desks by windows, desks in libraries, desks in offices, desks in dorm rooms. In every picture, the chair had been pulled back slightly, as if someone had just left, or as if it was waiting for someone to sit down. Most people saw nothing above the desks. Most people. But a few said that if they raised the brightness all the way and held the phone farther from their face, they could see a small pale blur near the top of every image. Like toes, hanging very lightly. So if you are sitting at a desk while listening to this, do not turn around yet. Do not look up. Look at your screen first. If the screen is bright, you may not see anything. If the screen is black, do not stare too long, because it does not love windows. It does not love basements. It does not even love that old desk. It loves a person sitting alone in the light, head lowered, back quiet, space above them. And when it touches you, it is only checking one thing. You are still sitting there.